Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever. Ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, jaders, sapphires, whoever's out there. Hello. I'm really enjoying this story because I love a good mystery, but there is a long way to go before this mystery is solved. Now, we're on chapter 7 in the book. I think it might be part 8. I'm going to read half the chapter today and half tomorrow because it's quite long. And this chapter is called Gran, I'm Frightened. And look, it looks like there might be somebody at the door. Gran, can I go and do my homework now, please? Beans asked. Oh my, such enthusiasm. Gran pursed her lips. So you finished pushing your macaroni cheese around your plate then? Beans nodded. Scoot then. Gran waved her hand. I'll clear up by myself. Gran had barely finished her sentence before Beans was out of the sitting room and halfway upstairs. Thank you, Gran. Oh, you're welcome, Beatrice, Gran said to herself. Gran, I heard that, Beans called out, not stopping. Beans ran into her bedroom, closing the door quietly behind her. Lying flat on the carpet, she retrieved her spy kit briefcase from under the bed. She put it there after Louisa and Anne had left, not wanting her Gran to see what she was up to. Beans sat on her bed, her spy kit in front of her before opening the case. On top of everything else was the folder. Above the words Top Secret, Beans wrote, Operation Gadgetman. Then she opened the folder. What did she have? Anne and Louisa's fingerprints, a partial palm print, anonymous, probably useless, some other fingerprints, anonymous, a piece of material, also probably useless, some cigarette ash, and now a cigarette packet, the last 3 items in evidence bags. Not much to go on. Still, it was a start. Beans held up the evidence bag which contained the cigarette packet and frowned at it. This packet might have been dropped in their dustbin by a passing stranger. How could she tell? Still, until she checked it out thoroughly, it was a potential clue. So where did all these so-called clues get her? Answer? Nowhere. Yet. With a sigh, Beans sprinkled light fingerprint powder on the black cigarette packet, then carefully brushed off the excess. She examined the box with her magnifying glass. There were fingerprints there, all right, but they were so smudged and creased it was hard to tell where one fingerprint ended and the next one began. I'll still keep the packet, Beans said to herself after a moment's thought. After all, there might be some other clues on it that she'd missed. It might even... Wait a second. Beans stared down at the box. She'd just had an idea. An ace idea. She dusted the outside of the box. But what about the inside? Using her tweezers, Beans opened the top of the cigarette packet. She tried to think about how she'd hold the packet if she was trying to get out a cigarette. The only likely places for fingerprints were the top or the sides of the inside of it. As the inside of the box was lined with white tissue paper, Beans dusted around the dark fingerprint powder. Carefully brushing off the extra again, this time she examined the inside. Her heart began to sledgehammer. There it was, a single fingerprint on the inside of the packet. A thumbprint? Beans wondered. She searched through her bedside table for some sellotape. Removing the print would be extremely tricky, and she'd only get one chance to do it right. If she made a mistake, she'd smudge it for sure, and then it would be lost forever. Beans wiped her forehead and pulled her blouse away from her sticky back. She took a deep breath and held it before placing the sellotape over the print. It felt like she was shaking all over, as if even her blood was trembling, but her hands moved slowly and steadily. The moment the sellotape was over the fingerprint, Beans peeled it straight off again before it had a chance to really stick to the paper. She placed the thumbprint over the other prints she'd got that day. Only then did she exhale, breathing deeply to catch her breath. She'd done it! In her best handwriting, she added details to each of her labels for each set of prints. And there you go. Here are the labels that she's written. Can you see them on there? Anne's prints. Left hand, thumb index, middle ring little. Right hand, thumb index, middle ring little. Louisa's prints. Left hand, thumb index, middle ring little. Right hand, thumb index, middle ring little. My prints. Guess what? Left hand, thumb index, middle ring little. Right hand, thumb index, middle ring little. Palm print. Anonymous. Found on outside of door handle to Dad's workroom. Fingerprints. Partial. Anonymous. Found on inside of door handle to Dad's workroom. Fingerprint. Thumb ? Anonymous. Found on inside of cigarette packet in outside dustbin. So you've got your thumb, your index finger, your middle, your ring finger and your little. That's what all those things mean. The next job was to try and find something which would have a good set of Dad's fingerprints on it. Beans went out onto the landing and leaned out over the banister. Gran was downstairs, clattering about in the kitchen. Beans tiptoed into her dad's bedroom and closed the door before switching on the light. Fear, deep and icy cold, bit into her. She was trembling. Here she was in her dad's bedroom. But where was he? Beans had never felt so worried. It was a horrible feeling. It ate away at her until she wanted to scream to let it out. She took a deep breath and looked around slowly. The state of Dad's bedroom was almost as bad as his workroom. Beans couldn't help but smile. Gingerly, she stepped over coiled wires and plugs and cables and PC keyboards and screwdrivers scattered all over the carpet. They were all likely places from which to get fingerprints, but there had to be something that would have a good set of fingerprints which wouldn't be smudged from constant handling. And what about Dad's kidnappers? They must have searched in here for the oscillator. Dad said in his letter that they searched all over the house. So how could Beans be sure to get something with her dad's fingerprints on it? Beans licked her lips as she looked around the room again. There had to be something. The light switch on the wall? No, those prints would be smudged for sure. One of Dad's books? No, those prints would probably be smudged too. There must be something. Then Beans saw it. The light bulb in the bedside lamp. Of course, Dad would only need to put the bulb in once and he wouldn't touch it again until it needed changing. And it was the bayonet kind, not the screw-in kind, so any prints were a lot less likely to be smudged. The only trouble was, how could Beans take it out of its socket without getting her fingerprints all over it? She could wear gloves, but wouldn't that just smudge any prints there might be? Beans walked over to the bedside lamp. If she was careful, it should be all right. She'd just have to risk it. Using only her palm, Beans pushed the bulb down and twisted it, making sure she was only in contact with the bottom of the bulb and not the sides. It sprang out of its bayonet fixing and only her palm pressing down on it, keeping it from falling to the table. Using the thumb and index finger of her other hand, Beans grasped the bulb lower down towards its fixing and lifted it out of the lamp. 10 minutes later, she had another set of prints to add to her top secret file. Underneath the print she wrote, "Fingerprints, Dad's. Full set, probably from left hand, because Dad is left-handed, taken from bedside lamp, light bulb." Beans compared her dad's fingerprints to the print she'd recovered off the cigarette packet. There was no match. In fact, none of the prints came close. But to make sure, she'd have to find something with a set of prints from Dad's right hand. Beans went once more through the Operation Gadgetman file. No new ideas sprung to mind. After that, All Beans wanted to do was sleep. It had been a long, long day, and she'd be no good to her dad if she was too tired to think. After cleaning her teeth and going to kiss her gran goodnight, Beans went back to her room and fell into bed, hugging her Operation Gadgetman folder to her. We'll see what happens on Saturday in the next instalment. Hope you're well. You're feeling good, you're being good, feeling treasured, feeling precious. Good stuff. Speak to you soon.